Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Debray. I'll be presenting on the JP Morgan Chase and Company data breach that took place in 2014. As many of you know, the JP Morgan Chase is the largest financial institution, or one of the largest financial institutions. They do rank currently as number one in the S&P, and in the stock market range, they are a Fortune 500, and if not the largest financial institution today. In 2014, JP Morgan data breach speculated to have compromised over 83 million accounts and over 76 million households, which means approximately every 2 out of 3 households in the country, and additionally 7 million small businesses' data was compromised in 2014. The financial institution JP Morgan Chase reported that in 2014, the cyber attack costed them more than a staggering result of $12.782 billion in loss. That's crazy to think just a simple cyber attack or a complicated cyber attack can cost so much money for a small or large organization. The larger you get, the more expensive it gets. More of a detailed report. Individually, I'll get slide by slide, but how many users were affected? Like I said previously, JP Morgan stated that they believe only it was 1 million account were affected. According to other people with knowledge of the attacks, over the time we came to find out, like I said previously, it was 83 million accounts and 76 million households, which means that approximately two out of every 3 household people in a house were compromised. Continuing on that, JP Morgan Chase also reported that the data breach had started in July of 2014. That's kind of the fun part here is, how long did it really last? We know it started in July, or supposedly started in July, but after several years of research, come to find out it actually started in June and went all the way through the end of July of 2014. That means JP Morgan Chase data had been compromised and hacked for over 61 days and had been compromised for over 1,460 hours. That's a lot of time for a vulnerability to be sitting on your servers or a backdoor for somebody to access. It's crazy to think how much time that really was, but it's pretty amazing time frame that you think of leaving your data vulnerable to an attack. Who is responsible for the cyber attack? As of right now, they know 2 of the official hackers, and the third one is speculated. These are a hacker group out of Russia, but that would be Gary Shalin, Joshua Aaron, and Zeed Weird. They were all found guilty. At least Joshua and Gary were both found guilty and extradited out of Russia, and have now been extradited to the United States to be prosecuted, and I believe now sentenced. Details on the specific attacks and method. The hacker group sent millions of spam and phishing emails to the JP Morgan customers regarding their penny stocks. Then after JP Morgan Chase shareholders' stock value had rose substantially, they allegedly sold their shares, realizing the millions of dollars while exposing unsuspecting investors in losses. They also used multiple methods to break into the networks, including brute force attack, social engineering, and many more to complete this very intrusive cyber attack. Gary Shetland and Joshua Aaron and Zeev Orenstein stole customer information because they were in hope of establishing their own brokerage company in the business. The authorities found the online chats and phone conversations between these perpetrators. How could the 2014 JP Morgan Chase and Company cyber attack been avoided? Several, but some of these were the methods that the hackers used: social engineering. So they made phone calls, which I'll get more into. These brute force attack, like I said previously, they used a lot of email phishing in between JP Morgan customers, and also they used server backdoors, kind of server updates that were never ran or enforced, which caused backdoors for them to be able to enter and to be able to use. The best practices on how to avoid these type of attacks. First is be aware of phishing. Phishing attacks are real. After the attacks, after July of 2014, Chase sent out an email warning customers to be on the lookout for attacks because they were that's how they were initially hacked or had compromised their accounts. So if they sent out an email saying, don't click on links or download attachments, emails from unknown senders and other suspicious emails. It's always just a good rule to follow. I think a lot of us don't realize the stuff that we're clicking on, or even the generation below us don't really fully understand the capabilities of just a simple click of what can really happen or what data they can get from clicking on a single button or from clicking on an ad or putting their name or information in. These are some fun statistics. Nearly 1/3 of data breaches in 2018 involved phishing. I'll just read a couple of these. Verizon's 2018 data breach investigations group reported that 32% of data breaches in 2018 involved phishing activity. Furthermore, phishing was present in 78% of cyber espionage, which is and today we're not really human espionage, it's more cyber intelligence and cyber espionage, which is amazing. 1 in 25 branded emails is phishing email. We all probably get a daily ad or something. Just be aware of what we're clicking on. That's what caused these, like I said earlier. The JP Morgan Chase, this group of hackers, sent out email phishing attacks to their users and to their stockholders and shareholders, and which compromised their accounts because they made it look legitimate enough to look like it came from JP Morgan Chase. There's a lot of different methods within here, but this is just kind of continuing. 91% of cyber attacks in 2012 began with spear phishing email attacks. Trend Micro, which is one of the largest cybersecurity firms, found that more than 90% of targeted cyber attacks were launched from cyber communications and phishing communications. So emails back and forth with a company that wasn't real, almost a form of social engineering. An interesting fact that JP Morgan Chase did not have multi-factor authentication enabled. In 2014, like I said, this could have been avoided by a simple solution as a two-factor authentication or multiple authentication options within that, which would have reduced the possibility of having an attack or hacked. Many people don't know what is multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication, also known as MFA, is a security system that verifies a user's identity by requiring multiple credentials. It is a critical component of identity access management, IAM. This is coming from OneLogin. It's actually the company that we use at Bamboo HR. We use Google Authenticator with OneLogin to give us access to everything. Rather than just asking for a username and password, multi-factor authentication requires an additional credential such as a code, which is what we use from Google Authenticator, an answer to a security question, a fingerprint, and facial recognition. In today's timing and technology, things are coming about more where they're using fingerprint. You use your phone for fingerprint. If you really think about it, we have multiple factor authentication when you're logging into either your phone or your computer. Some of the new MacBooks have a fingerprint that's multi-factor authentication. Your phone has multiple authentication factor where you can set up your fingerprint and also your code to be able to allow you to get in. Different ways that you can use multiple authentication. Like I was saying, there's the codes generated by a smartphone, such as Google Authenticator and other authentication apps, badges, USB drives, and other physical devices. I don't really recommend very much of those are getting outdated. Soft tokens and certificates are definitely a plus using SSL. Fingerprints is always great because it's individual. It's pretty hard to have somebody else's fingerprint. Code sent by an email address. I would always be careful of that because it can cause that to be a phishing attack also. Facial recognition. Many of us have seen the new Apple updates with that. Coming back and using that option, retina iris scanning, really cool technology that's coming out for multiple authentication. Really just the summary of JP Morgan Chase. Currently, like I said earlier, they are ranked #1 of the financial institution by Bankrate. JP Morgan Chase and Company in total assets estimated over $2.7 trillion. The 2014 JP Morgan data breach could have been avoided by simple solutions such as a two-factor authentication, which was not configured at the time of the cyber attack. They also used email filtering and phishing to complete this attack. This could have been avoided by updating basic server updates and patches. The cyber attack exposed and compromised bank computers, all data information within those computer systems, capturing phone numbers, email, social security cards, social security numbers, bank records, and much more, making 2014 JP Morgan cyber attack one of the largest data breaches in history known today.